Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. I decided to just quickly jump on. There's a few things I want to just share with people. But before I do, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for your messages and emails and so forth, asking whether I'm okay or not, because I didn't come on to do the Aries full moon video. And I really wanted to, I just simply didn't have the time. I actually had created a workshop that I did on the full moon on the five Venus star points, the pentagram in the birth chart. It was a beautiful workshop with a beautiful bunch of souls that gathered in that space. It was supposed to be a 3-hour workshop. It went for 4 hours and 15 minutes. That has been recorded and is available if any of you are interested. It's definitely worth investing in. I highly recommend it. I've put a lot of heart and soul and time and energy into that particular workshop. It is a very powerful asset to your toolbox in astrology relative to understanding relationships and the connections that we make in our lives and why we draw and attract very specific people that we do, and what's the backstory to that. The pentagram, the 5-star pentagram, which is the star man in that we superimpose over our birth chart, is it's got 2 arms and 2 feet. And so there's this concept that Ariel has created, Ariel Gutman, which is where I've gotten most of my knowledge about the Venus star points in the chart. We have a receiving arm, a giving arm, a receiving leg, and a receiving giving leg, and a receiving leg as well. That's a very important concept, and really explains to us the types of relationships we attract and why, so on and so forth. In that workshop, I talk about how to find your Venus star points, how to superimpose them in your chart, recognizing any aspects that they have to planets in your chart and whether they are connected to a particular aspect pattern in your chart, such as a yod or a grand trine or a grand cross or a T-square. Those are the major planetary aspect patterns I covered. Talk about, paying attention to eclipses. We talked about the transiting Venus star point. There's a lot of material in there, a lot of jewels. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in learning about the pentagram, to invest in this. And so the other part that I wanted to mention was that there's been a bit of a calling for Europe-based people asking me to repeat the workshop for a time that would suit people who live in Europe, and I'm happy to do that, but I need to have enough of an interest for me to actually put that together. So if you are from Europe and if you are interested in participating in the workshop, I will need 2 volunteers most likely. And I will run it again if I have enough people. So if you are from Europe, please email me. Let me know that you are interested in this workshop, and I'll work out a date and time, etc., that hopefully will suit everyone based in Europe. Outside of that, of course, if I don't end up running it again for whatever reason that may be, there is a recording available of the course that I actually did on the 21st of October, which was during the full moon in Aries. So it's been a really, really super intense full moon. I know you're all feeling it. I've had a lot of messages, on through social media, emails, etc. People letting me know how they're feeling. It's really intense. Now, before I just kind of perhaps talk a little bit about the current energies, I just want to share with you guys, and this is predominantly for the people who participated in the Venus Star workshop. However, this is also valuable to you guys who are interested in the Venus Star point. There is a program that I've come across. It's a free astrology software program that enables you to put in your birth details, and it calculates your Venus star point. It shows you your 5 Venus star points, okay? The sign they're in, the degrees that they're in, etc. And that's very valuable. Most programs, not any other program has it as far as I know. I use Solarfire generally for my astrology, and Solarfire certainly doesn't have this facility. I actually use Ariel's PDF file anyway to identify the 5 Venus star points, but this is just very handy to have it as an extra thing where you don't have to look up or calculate anything. The program does it for you. So let me just bring that up and share with you guys what the program is and how you can get it. So basically, here it is here. So the address you need is jkremers.com. You would actually put in www.j and then cremers.com. Okay, and you should get this page. When you do, you just hit that tab there where it says download Planet Dance, and it downloads it within a couple of minutes. Now, I've already got it on my desktop, so I'm just going to launch straight into it just to show you how it works. Okay, this is there's a lot to this program. I haven't really studied it enough to kind of guide you through everything, as it were. But all I want to do today anyway is just show you how it calculates the Venus star point. And I've already put a chart up, and we'll just take a look at that in a second. But first of all, what you do is you go to File. You would hit the word radix, which means natal. Okay, it brings up this window, and you just type in name, date of birth, time of birth, country, and then state or city or whatever it is. And then you would just hit OK, and it basically calculates a chart for you. So this is what it would look like when it calculates it initially. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to go to the tab called horoscope. Okay, you want to run down your cursor until you see the word extra. You want to go to the tab that it opens up, that whole window, and you want to go right down to the bottom where you can see it says Venus star point. You click on that, and it creates a new chart for you. Now, you can see here that it's already drawn in the pentagram, okay, which is what it does for you. No other program, as far as I know, does this. There might be others out there. I'm not saying there isn't, but this is the only one that I know of. So here it is here. There's your pentagram. I've just used the current date, as in today's date, right? So pretend this is somebody's birth date, for example. This is based in United Kingdom, so it's Greenwich Mean Time. Date is 22nd of October 2021. So I'll just move me over here, and if you have a look on the right hand side, it actually shows you in these letters that you see here, A, B, C, D, E. That's giving you the order of the 5 Venus star points, the pentagram, as you see it labeled in the chart. It's very small, so but the letters that are the A, B, C, D, E, they're kind of they haven't done that very well. They probably could have put the letters a little bit off the line of the circle so you can identify them a little bit easier. But what I can see is there's A over here in house 8, for instance. B's over here, C's over here, D's over here, and E is over here. All right, so anyway, it's drawn it in for you, and it actually tells you, okay, so what's the head of this star? The head of this star was actually on the 26th of March, 26th of the 3rd, 2021, and that was the Eris Venus star point, okay, that we had earlier this year, okay. Ariel and myself talked about that Venus star point. You can actually watch the entire discussion for free on my YouTube channel if you haven't already seen it. It's right there as soon as you go onto my YouTube channel as a one of the highlights of one of my videos, for instance. So anyway, let's just say a person was born here, right, 22nd of October, which is today in the Southern Hemisphere, okay. This would be a little baby. So this little baby has his or hers head of the star at Aries, has a receiving foot in what is that? Let me see. It would be Libra, Capricorn, Aries, Gemini, Leo. Is that Leo? I've got a bit of a problem with this where it's got this after birth, these words here. It just cuts off the symbol. And you really have to know your current Venus star points to really be on top of this. But I'm just going to double check because my mind's just had a bit of a blank. So what are we looking at? August 2019. Yeah, it's Leo. I thought so. I just had to double check because I just don't want to give wrong information. So the receiving foot is Leo. It's an evening star. ES stands for evening star. It's at 21 degrees of Leo. The receiving hand, which was on the 3rd of the 6th, 2020, is a morning star. It's 13 degrees of Gemini. That was the last Venus retrograde cycle that we had. Okay, morning star is always the retrograde cycle of Venus, and evening star is a Sun-Venus conjunction again, but the direct cycle of Venus. That's what the Venus star points are. One is always the retrograde cycle, and the next one is going to be the direct cycle. Okay, that's just how it follows in that consecutive order, no exceptions. So we've got the head of the star at 5 degrees of Aries, which, as I said, was earlier this year. And then we've got the giving hand for this person is the star that the date of that is the 9th of October 2022, which is 18 degrees of Capricorn, which is the next Venus retrograde star that I will be talking about with Ariel Gutman again. That is, I'll be speaking with her again about this next coming Venus retrograde cycle, which is the morning star. And the giving foot for this individual comes through the date of the 22nd of the 10th, 2022. And that's an evening star, meaning it's a direct cycle of Sun-Venus conjunction. It's at 29 degrees of Libra. And if you don't understand what any of this means, this is one reason why you could either send me an email for an inquiry to the workshop that I've created, because I talk about all this and I explain it and I run through the whole thing. And of course, if you are in Europe and you are interested in having me run this workshop again, please email me and let me know. But this is the program. It's free and you can download it within seconds, and basically you can start plotting your Venus star points. So that's pretty fantastic in my opinion. Okay, where am I? Can't get my oh, that's what I need to do. Sorry. I forgot how to shrink and enlarge. All right. So that's the Venus star point matters. Now, what's happening today? Well, we're still in full moon phase. The full moon just occurred, yesterday, basically. I've managed to capture some beautiful images of the full moon and of the beautiful sunrises that we've had here in Australia just the last couple of days. Magical moments. I've shared some of that. Some of you have seen it on social media or my community section here, etc., etc. Okay, so I don't want to talk about the full moon too much, but because it's kind of past, as it were, but we are still in that energy, okay? And everyone is feeling it with no uncertain terms, particularly because what we have is we had a full moon in Aries, opposite Mars, square Pluto, conjunct Eris. So what are we talking about there? We're talking about yang, dynamic, masculine, intense frequency, propelling people forward, stimulating action, stimulating anger, perhaps rage in some cases. It just depends what's going on. There is a lot going on there in the world, in every single corner of the earth, as it were. Now, with this month kicking off, a lot of planets going direct. As we know, Pluto went direct, Saturn went direct, Jupiter went direct, Mercury's gone direct. So most planets are direct. The only planets that aren't direct are Uranus and Neptune. And that one of them goes direct at the end of the year and the other one goes direct early next year. So nevertheless, the planets that are direct at the moment are certainly planets that correspond to social order and justice and government and reality and structure and action and transformations and power and soul. Pluto Mars action, etc., etc. This full moon was an absolute doozy. There were a few things that happened to me personally as well, which I won't go into, but I can tell you now it certainly had quite a strong impact for me. But you know, it's also been very positive in a lot of ways too. And what I would recommend, of course, as always with every full moon, is go back to see, well, where did this cycle begin, which was basically the new moon in Libra, right, 2 weeks ago, which was at 13 degrees of Libra, okay, and was conjunct Mars at the time as well. So we had a new moon cycle begin with Mars kicking off in that energy, and also 13 degrees of cardinal is a critical degree, as I mentioned in the new moon in Libra video. And also Pluto was still, you know, within range of squaring that new moon. So it's squaring the new moon, squaring the full moon. Mars Pluto energy is present right from the beginning of this cycle, and naturally at the full moon, things are always illuminated for better or for worse. It's just, you know, the illumination is not what defines exactly what or what it's going to be or how it's experienced. The what, I suppose, is the energies of the archetypes, and in this case we're talking about, you know, Aries, Scorpio, Mars, Pluto archetypes and energies, and Eris, the goddess of discord, destruction. They sound like very negative words, but she's a very powerful goddess to, you know, wake us up out of our slumber. Basically, she reveals the truth, as does Pluto. You know, they smash through all the false structures, systems, illusions, mindsets, beliefs, and so on and so forth. And in addition to that, the Mars Pluto square, which was active in the full moon chart and is approaching, as a matter of fact, I might just bring up the chart so we can get some visuals. So let me just pop myself up there. So, okay, so this is, well, that was last night. Perhaps let me just bring up chart for the present. So where's the moon? There it is. It's conjunct Uranus. Okay, nice. And here I am talking about astrology. Okay, grab a little bit of assistance here. So there's the moon in Taurus. Okay, and conjunct Uranus, still in full moon phase. Sun and Mars are still, you know, within range of still being in each other's frequency, if you like. I mean, the conjunction, you know, was a couple of days ago or so, but have a look at what's happening here. Pluto square Mars, that's exact today. Now, I did a brief write-up on the full moon on my community section, and I did that because I knew I wouldn't be able to do a full moon video in time. But then subsequently here I am talking about what I thought I wasn't going to have a chance to talk about. So there you go. Things just happen unexpectedly. One thing that I mentioned about the Mars-Pluto aspect is that what's happening here is that you can think about this in very deep terms, because if you want to go into deep evolutionary astrology, one of the primary teachings in evolutionary astrology is the understanding of phases, okay, in planetary combinations. And the phases correspond to, it's the same phases that we identify with the sun-moon aspects. That is a new moon, which is a new phase, right? New beginnings. There are 8 phases in total, okay? The most common ones that people are aware of is the new moon and the full moon, of course, but there are 8 phases within that cycle. Those 8 phases are extremely significant in evolutionary astrology, and they really, they just open up a whole bunch of other layers of knowledge and understanding as to what's actually occurring with any 2 planetary bodies or more for that matter. So in other words, this Pluto square Mars is actually in what's called a last quarter phase, because Mars, when it was in Cancer some time ago, it was actually opposite Pluto. Okay, so that was the opposition point. And so if you go back a couple of years ago, thereabouts, when Mars was in Capricorn, it began a new phase conjunction with Pluto, right? And so what it did was it moved out of Capricorn and then just started to, travel around the zodiac, go right around, right around, right around, get to Libra, which is where it is now. And so, forming its last quarter square. And then, when Mars gets into Scorpio, Sagittarius, it will form some other aspects as well. And then eventually it will actually come back and form another new phase conjunction and cycle again in the sign of Capricorn. And it is a repetitive cycle from the point of view of Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008. And so since 2008, around about there, we've had every couple of years, we've had these new phase conjunctions with Sun and Pluto take place. And they're very significant on a collective level, but they are extremely significant on a personal level, because this is really an opportunity for really powerful, authentic alignment with lower will and higher will, lower will being Mars, higher will being Pluto. So this integration of this energy, this new phase conjunction, which is, it's a birthing every couple of years that gives us the opportunity to birth a new pathway relative to our ability to be self-empowered and be aligned with our soul's desires and intentions. That's, very, in a very brief manner, right? That's the way you would look at it. And of course, you would then just look at, well, where does this conjunction occur, in your birth chart, for example, because it's more or less been occurring in the same area of your birth chart, that is in the same area of life, since 2008, which is a really long time. So, it's just letting us know that we're given ample opportunity, really, to integrate these energies through the new moon, through the new phase cycle every time it occurs. So anyway, in this full moon chart, we're at a point where there's this square between Mars and Pluto, and that aspect, whilst it's only there a couple of days, it actually is important to understand that that aspect is born from what was previously a new phase conjunction between Mars and the Sun, Mars and Pluto. So the last quarter square in Dane Rudhyar's teachings has been termed crisis in consciousness, right? And it's a term that I think a lot of people don't really understand, which I can understand that would be the case, because it's a little bit of an obscure term and it's used in so many different ways nowadays. And so people have very different perceptions of what consciousness is or isn't, right? So for that reason, I think a better word to use would be to say crisis in thinking. And I would also add crisis in beliefs as well. So there's a real critical time in this lunation cycle, speaking through, so for this entire lunation cycle, this energy is more or less there. Technically it's there today, but then we've got to think about when this cycle of Mars Pluto began, which was almost 2 years ago, right? And so this part of the phase, last quarter square, crisis in thinking, the crisis in thinking will be what this energy highlights. But the other component to this is, how do we act? How do we now act in the way we are thinking and perceiving our reality, or the beliefs that we've held on to? And I think it's a fair comment to say that many beliefs that people have held about life in general, the nature of life, the nature of this reality, and as it's been presented through consensus reality particularly, which basically means, consensus media, Saturn, people's beliefs have just been smashed into a million pieces, because what we thought was no longer is. So we are challenged in our own thoughts and thinking and perceptions and beliefs. We are greatly challenged at the moment to, it's a crisis in our own thinking, which does lead to very specific action as well, because it's Mars Pluto. It's an incredibly dynamic aspect. It can be very dangerous as well. You know, it can be rage. It's very explosive. It has a lot of different faces, faces as in faces, right? As in energy, as in manifestations. Now, Pluto is direct, Mars is direct, so this energy is externalized. We can see it on the earth plane, on what's happening in the world with the different courses of action that are being propelled forward. And, you know, it has two sides to it. It has the side of what still feels, in a lot of ways, for a lot of different people, being in a position of wanting to have autonomy and free choice, and coming up against the backlash of that, right? Because unfortunately, the way the paradigm is set up at the moment, if you step outside the Saturn consensus reality, which is basically this Saturn square Uranus we've had all year, you'll just be cast out. And it's always been like that, you know, from thousands and thousands of years ago. And even if you go back into the mythology around Saturn-Uranus, you know, Saturn just wanted to control and Uranus wanted to wake people up. That's why he gave, you know, the juice, the information, the wisdom to the people. And he was punished for that because the gods, anyway, we won't go into that story. But the point is, if you step outside consensus reality, you unfortunately are likely to be judged, criticized, ridiculed, demonized, attacked, etc., etc. Now, there's a lot of attacking going on both sides of the fence. So I'm not, I'm not oblivious to that. I'm aware of that. But I'm just simply outlining that these energies at the moment are pushing and propelling everyone. And the thing is, the division and segregation, you know, there's a lot of people now that were over on this side that are more able to see this side, and you know, there's no real settlement or clarity in that at the moment still. And the reason for that, I think, is because first of all these planets are moving direct, which is pushing energy. It's, you know, the externalization of these energies is just feeding through the collective unconscious, and people are responding to this energy. And Mars Pluto is the desire to be in control, the desire to exercise your right, especially Mars in Libra, right? It's about fighting for justice, freedom, equality, fairness, and so forth. And there's a lot of that going on collectively, you know, continuous, and it's growing every single day. And it's growing even in the consensus reality. And what I mean by that is there are numerous politicians, there are numerous individuals in the emergency services, in the police forces, in, you know, just about in the medical field. People are rising and stepping up and standing up on every level of this material earthly reality, right? And that's going to continue. And of course, there's this incredible, powerful push because the planets are direct, as I've said. Furthermore, because Saturn has recently gone direct, well, you can see it's six degrees of Aquarius, right? So what Saturn is going to do is going to obviously continue to progress forward in Aquarius. And by December this year, which is just around the corner, he's going to form his last square to Uranus. So, you know, we haven't seen the end of what's happening just yet. In fact, probably nowhere near it really. There's still a lot more to see. So that goes both ways, you know. That is that there potentially will be more a further of plans and intentions from that Saturn level pushed, you know, and advocated or mandated or whatever it may be. But at the same time, you know, Uranus is also shaking the foundation of everything and everyone as well. And that's not a bad thing, actually, because Uranus is the awakener. It wakes people up. That's, you know, that's the gift of Uranus. It's when you are aligned with the Uranus energy, when you are integrating with that energy, you're awake. That doesn't mean it removes the narrative of what's going on, but it does actually place you in a position where you tend to identify perhaps with a different version of this reality. You just have a different understanding. But that, you know, that's not easy to step into, which is why, you know, 80% of the population in the world are Saturn type people, consensus reality. It's just, you know, but we're just, again, we're just at a different phase in the collective evolution where a lot more people are waking up because they have to. And the biggest contributor to that, apart from Uranus, of course, is Eris. Where is she? Where are you, Eris? There she is, forming her square to Pluto, which has been in play for quite some time, naturally. And Pluto has just gone past being exactly square with her just in the last week or so. So Pluto is going to continue to move forward. So we're not going to have that exact tight square between Pluto and Eris again. Well, not for a very, very long time. And I mean a very long time. First of all, Pluto has a 248-year cycle around the sun, and Eris has a, what is it, 500 and something years of a cycle around the sun. So it's not a common thing to have Pluto and Eris squaring each other. All right, so we can see that it's come in at this time in life, in our level of consciousness, in what's needed to be transformed, what's needed to be woken up. You know, Eris is what wakes us up out of our slumber. And she does it in a way that's really uncomfortable. And she's got nothing invested in, you know, making people comfortable or complacent. She's got everything invested in basically in waking you up, and that's going to come through like a tornado, which is what's happening. So this is still very, very strong. You can see both Pluto and Eris are 24 and 24, but as Pluto proceeds forward, even next year though, this aspect is still going to be there, not as close as it is now, but it's not going to be far enough that you wouldn't consider it as part of the energies that are still present. I guess the time when I would say that the energy of this particular aspect, Pluto squaring Eris, will come to its, what we could say perhaps complete finish, will be when Pluto ingresses into Aquarius. The first ingress of that is in 2023, but technically Pluto doesn't really start and kick off the journey in Aquarius until 2024. Because in 23, when Pluto goes into Aquarius, it retrogrades back into Capricorn just for a short while. And then in 2024, he begins, you know, the 20-year cycle, however long it's going to be in Aquarius. And so when Pluto goes into Aquarius, that's when he's no longer interacting with Eris anymore. So given that this Pluto-Eris frequency really describes the collective narrative down to a T, what's been going on the earth plane the last 18 months to 2 years, it's safe to say that, 22 and 23 is still going to be a little bit chaotic. I don't think things are going to, they will move through next sort of stages and plans and things of what's intended and so forth. And that will also be where everyone has the choice to, well, it might be a limited choice as it appears right now, but we still have a choice to choose which direction we wish to go in. So there'll be a lot of different things that will change for all of us. Doesn't matter which side of the fence you sit on relative to this collective cataclysmic crisis, right? And so there's still a lot more to happen, is what I'm trying to say. There's still a lot more things that will take place, and that includes the action that we take as well. So it's not over yet. In other words, we've got loads more to see. Okay, I'll actually leave it here for now. But just finally, I wanted to say that today, which is the 22nd of October, 21st for Northern Hemisphere people, the fixed star Spica and the fixed star Arcturus are both, because they're in the constellations where they sit at the moment, is at 24 degrees Libra, okay, which means they are exactly conjunct Mars today. And we could even say that this energy has been present since, let's have a look. Well, certainly since yesterday, even the day before. Yeah, I would say building up from around the 18th of October and becoming exact on the 22nd of October. Adjust that date one day back if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. And certainly within play tomorrow, again, as you can see, Mars is still at 24 Libra. And by the time it gets to 25th, well, that's when the energy starts to decrease, it's separating. But those two particular stars are very auspicious. They're very, they can bring through some sort of protection, some sort of opportunity, some sort of blessing. They can create fortunate circumstances relative to Mars things. And so at the moment, Mars in Libra, for a lot of individuals and communities, etc., it is about fighting for their rights, right? So I just wonder how this might, these fixed stars being Mars aligning with them, for a few days, I just wonder what fortune it might bring to certain individuals. So if this is you, if something happens for you, please, comment in this video. I'd really love to know, because it is a very, very positive, auspicious energy. The thing, one thing with Spica, Spica is my favorite fixed star because she's my queen of protecting me. She's my spiritual companion. She downloads so much into my consciousness because she's very prominent in my chart. So I really resonate with Spica's energy. And when you have Mars conjunct Spica, even though this is a transit we're talking about, because Mars is inherently a malefic, okay, in traditional astrology, Mars is a malefic, and can evoke very impulsive action and responses to situations, predicaments, etc., that can sometimes result in detrimental circumstances, right? So what I'm saying is, because Spica protects you basically, she's acting as a protective force with Mars here. So Mars might be hot-headed and impulsive and aggressive and etc. etc. But with the help of Spica here, there can be fortuitous action that can be the result for different individuals. So it's an opportunity to act on something, perhaps where a sense of courage, a sense of connecting to your own autonomy, the confidence you may need to take action towards a very important matter in your life right now, with the blessing of Spica right over Mars. So I'd take advantage of that, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I think that's it for today, and that's probably more than I even intended to say. I'll be back soon. I do want to actually talk about Saturn's direct movement, because that's going to be direct for quite some time. And, for those of you that have got planets in Aquarius, obviously, Saturn moving through Aquarius is a really big deal for all the Aquarians on the planet, as it is for Scorpions, Leos, and Taurians, the 4 fixed signs, because Saturn will be conjunct your Aquarius planets, square your Scorpio planets, opposite your Leo planets, and square your Taurus planets. So if you have a Sun, Moon, Ascendant, and I would say Mars or Venus as well, if you have Scorpio, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo in any of those planets, or your ascendant, then it's a period of around about 2.5 years where you are experiencing a heavy dose of Saturn. Saturn is a heavy energy anyway. It always is, right? Nothing lightweight about Saturn. Saturn's not about let's have fun and let's have a party. Saturn's about, I've got to get down to business. I've got to get this job done. I've got to do this work. I've got to get really serious about what I'm doing. That's the energy of Saturn. And put that in the background of the story of what's going on the Earth plane. You can imagine people who are experiencing Saturn for this 2.5 year period having a really magnified, dense dose of Saturn. I'm one of those people because I've got Moon in Aquarius, and all year Saturn's been Saturn's been conjunct my Moon, and it hasn't been happy days, I can tell you that. It really hasn't. It's been really, really shit in a lot of ways. There's a lot of good things that have come out of it as well. So I want to kind of emphasize that too, because with Saturn, the gift of Saturn in terms of when it's hitting off your personal planets is gaining some sense of control over your life relative to the planet that it's aspecting, right? And restructuring, those aspects of life. So on the Moon, it's going to be, well, what do you really need? What do you really need to feel safe, secure, comfortable, to feel okay, to feel good? And it's in my first house, so it's about my physical body as well. And I've had to make certain adjustments just with what my body needs at this time, just as a way of example. But if you are having this heavy dose of Saturn on one of your personal planets through conjunction, square, or opposition, just bear in mind, and I have spoken about this before, just remember that it is a transit and it will pass, because Saturn at its worst, when we're not aware of how this energy is impacting on us, it can really fool us on a psychological level and trick us into basically adopting the most negative perspective on everything that's going on. And that negative mental game that goes on with Saturn is absolutely freaking suffocating. Like, it's really severe. It can be really severe depression. I've seen it many, many times. And one of the tricks with Saturn is to remember that it's, first of all, it's a transit, it will pass. There's a lot of things you can recreate, restructure, reorganize. There's a lot of benefit you can get out of it, but you've got to be on top of the psychological and emotional sense of feeling isolated, because that's what Saturn separates. So it can create a sense of isolation, feeling like you're alone, feeling like you're not being supported by the universe, by people, whatever it may be. And a lot of that is because we've got to work with that Saturn energy personally ourselves. We've got to really figure out our own sort of resources and where we further need to grow. And that's why Saturn sort of creates this sense of being non-supported, if you like, because we've got to figure certain things out ourselves, right? So it's not easy. It's not easy. I totally feel you, because I'm having this energy all year, and I'm pretty over it, actually. And I can't. I was so happy when Saturn went direct, about a week or so ago, and when Pluto went direct. I literally felt that the moment that Pluto went direct, I actually felt some movement inside my, I suppose, what I could call my spiritual body, my emotional body, my astral body, my etheric body, which is where all the chakras reside. I literally felt this incredible sense of release. It was just, there's no words to describe it, really. And certainly Saturn moving forward is pleases me down to a T, as I'm sure it would a lot of you as well, because it means it's going to move away from any any aspects it's making to your planets, unless of course you've got planets in the sort of second decan, late second decan and third decan of Aquarius, meaning if you've got planets from 15 Aquarius to 30 degrees, 29 degrees, right? So those of you will experience everything I just said in the next year or two, right? So let me know if that's you. I'd be interested to hear your experiences, and I'll be back soon to talk further on Saturn moving direct for all of us. Okay, I'm out of here and sending you much love, much blessings. Thanks for listening, if you stayed right to the end as well. And email me if you're interested in the Venus workshop. It's fabulous. You won't regret it at all. I promise you that. No way. And again, thank you for sharing your comments, your love, and asking if I'm okay. That it really touches my heart. It really, really does. It means something to me. I care about it. So care about you guys. So yeah, see you soon. Thanks.